Payday 3 Update 10 could just as easily be called version 1.0, as it stands as very much the relaunch point of the game. With brand new, stylish and functional menus, the best rendition of Crimenet I could have imagined, and a more affordable package for all its year 1 content. Had Payday 3 launch looking something like this, we'd be having a very different conversation 1 year on. Unfortunately, games these days are not given the time they need to flourish, so instead there's a tinge of sadness and regret in my voice for what could have been, because without a doubt, this team is capable of something special and worthy of the Payday name when given the time. Today's update is evidence of that, and is actually why there's a part of me that was quite relieved when new massive content bombshells leaked with last week's developer updates. Knowing First World Bank is coming is a massive weight off. It's a real promise of exciting new content that makes this Anniversary Edition relaunch that bit less bittersweet, because I'm expecting it to be a turning point rather than a final hurrah. So who knows where we'll be in 12 months time. If we're lucky enough to see more updates of this quality, just with a focus around new gameplay experiences, this first anniversary celebration doesn't need to be the last. Let's start by diving into what this update does so well, which should be immediately apparent when you boot up the game. Much of this was showcased by the dev update video, but it's nice to get an opportunity to mess around with each individual component to see what really works and where more focus will need to be placed in the future. As I've already mentioned, I love the style of this rooftop gathering place. In lieu of a fully fledged safe house, there are few sites that get the heisting juices flowing quite as well as this New York skyline does, a total departure from the bland and uninteresting warehouse we'd gotten used to. It's not just a case of form over function though, with the ability to see the current party from this main menu screen, live updating as teammates change their loadouts. It's a much needed form of community building interaction, as the more you see of your crewmates, the more involved in the cooperative space you feel. A simple, yet likely technically complex addition that is well worth it in my eyes. One major complaint though is a lack of chat or VoIP functionality within this lobby, which would really seal the deal on that renewed sense of togetherness and communication. Looking around at the rest of the screen, the top right hand corner you can still see your account level and cash, with a default Dallas icon that surely suggests we'll be able to purchase different player icons at some point in the future. Next to this info bar is a shortcut to get to the new social menu, which has been massively streamlined and improved, allowing you to glance through your friends list rapidly, filter by platform, as well as manage recent and block player lists, surely making it much easier to find heisting groups naturally when playing online. Beneath that is the current mask of the week, which is now sized up and clearer to inform a potential purchase, as well as your list of daily challenges. You can click through here for a closer look or to reroll, as this is all done within the newly improved challenge menu. Of course, challenges at this point are almost superfluous, but hopefully, as we see some returning of the next few updates, this interface will make it much easier to browse and track to smooth out the entire process. In the bottom right corner of the menu, we have a scrolling info widget, which finally gives the game the appearance of a live service, allowing the developers to share important information around downtime, in-game events, and patch notes, instead of essentially relying on social media to spread the word. Moving over to the menu bars on the left-hand side of the screen, these have also been slightly updated for a more coherent overall presentation. The play button will take you to this revised menu, including full online, solo mode, and quick play options, as well as access to the tutorial if you need it. The vendor menu has also received a new coat of paint, but remains generally unwieldy. It's much easier to see weapon stats as the bars are now clearer, but this is still an entirely insufficient way of handling it in my opinion, and will need to be iterated upon in the future. As for the vendors themselves, I'm disappointed to see that there's not even been a new internal sorting system, at least by weapon type, and without the functionality provided by Filter, it's still a bit of a crapshoot to try and find the weapon you want to take on a heist, as there's really no logic for how they're listed. What's more aggravating is we're still stuck purchasing one favour at a time, which simply isn't good enough. The presentation is sleeker, predominantly due to sizing all important things up and placing them on a more interesting background, but the vendor menu still looks to need a lot of work before all my boxes are ticked. As for the loadout menu, this is much more functional despite being heavily tied to the vendor screen. Constantly being able to view your heister as you switch weapons and cosmetics really helps when putting together a loadout, which is important. The skill menu has also been refined to fit the new darker and more brooding colour scheme, although if you hate the colour green, you're still fresh out of luck. Skills have also been reordered within the menu, which will drive those of us who've been playing for the past year mad at first, but does make some sense when onboarding newer players. Skill lines focused around the core equipment playstyles are at the top, followed by survivability and utility skills, then damage skills and hybrid utility skills, while stealth is focused towards the bottom. I get it, it makes sense, but it will take a little adapting too. As for things like mask and weapon customization, this setup also seems to benefit those systems, as I find it much easier to see what I'm doing with improved clarity across the board. It's also worth noting that the weapon attachment menu now runs horizontally across the screen. This is how it worked in Payday 2, and I think the visual presentation is improved, although as we know from heists at launch, side-scrolling menus are still a bit awkward. From recent AMAs, we can expect weapon attachments to be an area the team will lock into over year 2, which is why I'm not too worried about this functionality at the moment. The pre and post heist menus have also been given some love. Nothing has changed from a functionality standpoint in terms of assets or loadout switching, but there's just something more intuitive and less glitchy about this presentation, and it feels as though the new background does wonders for highlighting the quality of the heister models. The post-heist menus are even better, split into 4 granular sections to walk you through the results of the heist. I like the icons in the results screen breaking down the specific IP payouts. The payout screen is clean and straightforward, whilst the progression display does a much better job at conveying what you've unlocked, including for your weapons, which just gives more weight to the fruits of your labour. Although at this point, it feels like we might as well have the dopamine spiking card picking system back too. As for the performance tab, this one is much more in-depth than I ever imagined, with everything from specific damage dealt to individual weapon accuracy, and minor actions like locks picked or hacks completed. Some of this information is really useful to assist in build crafting, so this is a massive addition that I didn't expect to see in this initial UI overhaul. Overall, the base UI changes are a mixed bag in terms of functionality, but in terms of pure presentation and aesthetics, it's a 10 out of 10 from me. The only thing missing is a new menu track because sadly, Da Capo is shackled with negative associations after the launch fiasco. Change that and it'll finally feel like you're playing a new game. As important as this first impression is though, I'm sure for most players the true excitement is going to be found within Crimenet. This new server browser interface is a game changer, with all the same impressive style I've already waxed lyrical about on the main menu. Just loading up the menu, it's immediately clear that this is a cut above what we've gotten used to in terms of immersion, presentation, and functionality. I do think that showing heists in their plan map locations is a neat touch, although one side effect of this is I guess we're staying in New York for the foreseeable future if this is the extent of the menu we're rolling with in year 2. The simple key to display heist types is also a nice touch. For me, the vertical heist select menu is vastly superior to the horizontal one we used to struggle with, and pre and post heist cutscenes have been placed in a much less intrusive, although potentially difficult to follow location, being within the individual briefing windows of each heist. The clarity and presentation here is still excellent though, succinctly displaying the reward range and available modifiers, though it might be nice to allow us to hover over them for a brief explanation of what they do. You can easily filter between the base game heists, side hustles, and any DLC campaign additions, even on the offline page, although we have far greater tools for filtering online lobbies. Here we can break things down by contractor, specific heist, tactic, or difficulty. You can mix and match, or just drop 99 boxes. The tactic option is obviously a key feature that has been sorely missed, creating a serious rift between the stealth and loud community at launch, which should finally be patched up. I can't stress the importance of this server browser. Again, it's ludicrous that we're getting it more than a year on from the initial release, but at the very least, it looks to be worth the wait. No complaints here whatsoever, although I do have to add the disclaimer that I haven't tried this out in the live version of the game. We don't yet know if they'll stick the landing in terms of server searching functionality until it launches. Where I do have to stick my boot in though is with the implementation of VoIP. I'm pleased about this, but as a creator and streamer, it's just untenable to turn on in its current state. This is an on by default option that is always open mic. There is no push to talk option whatsoever, which encapsulates the story of Payday 3 so far. A simple win, thoroughly botched. At the very least, we can mute other players and the voice quality is exceptional, mic dependent, so it's not all bad, but the fact that such a key element of implementing it correctly is missing again shows the lack of care that's plagued Payday 3 updates for months. However, even if you immediately switch VoIP off, you'll still find communication has been drastically improved by this update, as our console brethren can now see what's typed in chat, as they now have the ability to respond. Hopefully, as stealth and loud community relations heal, so too will those between PC and console heisters. This update has also changed the way heist servers function, with a host being chosen, either the first joiner or party leader. They have certain powers, such as the ability to kick unruly players or force restarts without needing to go to a vote. Solid features that should combat griefing, but a well-known double-edged sword as far as the community is concerned. Let's just say I'll be hosting most of my own lobbies from now on. That's the majority of the out of heist and intangible changes coming in this update, although there is at least some new content coming to the game. First up, new animations have been added to the Moscone, R900 and Bison Revolver, whilst the Compact 7 has received both a new inspect and reload animation. I hardly need to tell you that these are all top quality as ever. The animation team should have one hell of a portfolio once this is all over. There are also 4 new masks coming to the game: Flotsam, this year's primary offering for Halloween, which at least is launching on time, unlike last year's mask. This interesting looking Deathwish skull, available as the Apex Twitch drop this time, so remember to head directly to my stream after watching this video to grab yours, as that is sadly the only way to unlock it for the time being, as well as a pair of Mask of the Week options that will become available in due course. No seasonal heist, decoration, or special event is a shame, especially with Payday's rich history of embracing Halloween in the past, but it's a simple matter of prioritization here, and I can forgive them for knuckling down on a better Crimenet instead. The lack of in-game content is, sadly, just the price we pay. What I am pleased to say is that key bugs have now been squashed, including the broken doors on Diamond District, the invisible swap bug, and the bag launching tech, which could soft lock you on a number of heists. As for the notorious lighting issues, glare remains a problem, but the infamous oil room is finally fixed on Boys in Blue, although it comes at the cost of any shadows. Also, Fear and Greed has had its blue filter toned down, which massively improves the feel of most interior sections of this heist. So, top marks as far as I can tell in terms of game state, and surely, with limited content additions, not much new can break that as a result of this update. Fingers crossed, but I'm not one to count my chickens before they've hatched. And that's just about everything coming in Update 10. The lack of gameplay additions will frustrate those of us who've stuck with the game for months, but the big picture here is that this update has massively changed the new player experience and should change the instant perception of Payday 3 for the better, which means a lot when it comes to its longer term future. The fact of the matter is that the game is infinitely more appealing to boot up and play again. The fundamental replayability issues it has continue to plague it, although at least now it's not putting so many barriers in the way to actually start heisting. My takeaway is that until more is done in terms of satisfying progression, challenges and achievements, heist randomization, and build variation, we'll still be living patch to patch. But those are the reasons why concurrent user counts tend to fall sharply shortly after each content drop. So I anticipate players will turn the game on and be excited to play, which is a massive improvement from previous updates, but after a few heists we'll re-enter that inevitable waiting cycle as we simply need more to do. But that's not knocking the importance of Update 10 whatsoever. In fact, I believe this should be the game's true turning point, where public perception is no longer constantly tainted by the horror show release and gameplay missteps at launch. Those lessons can't be forgotten, but I'm prepared to step into year 2 with a sense of expectancy rather than doom. I'm fed up with the sword of Damocles hanging over both myself and this franchise. I want to start viewing this year's releases from a fresh perspective. So yeah, this update won't be saving Payday 3 on its own, and I still don't believe Operation Medic Bag should be considered complete, but what it can become is the foundation stone for the future of this franchise, which I've not felt as optimistic about as I currently do in over a year. Hop on, give it a go, and let me know what you think and what needs to be prioritised next to win you back for the long haul. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to check out Apex Gaming PCs from a link down in the description. There's a massive Halloween flash sale on for the next 48 hours if you act fast. Take care, I'll see you all on stream later this evening. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.